surface level, for somebody who isn't meditating right now, hears that word and kind of gets scared, what's the first thing you tell them when they're like, I can't meditate?
The first thing I would say is that you can't meditate, like you can't do it wrong. So there's nothing to be afraid of.
What do you mean?
So there's different types of meditation. You can define meditation as so many different things. But essentially, for this conversation, we'll break it down to 2 different types of meditation, just based on like different articles and stuff that I've pulled from. So there's focused attention meditation, and then there's open monitoring meditation. There's also loving kindness meditation, but I don't think that one's that applicable to this conversation since it's like revolved around traders. So we're not going to focus on that one. But focused attention meditation is, I think, what people initially think of when they think of meditation. Like, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to think about one thing and only one thing for a sustained period of time, which is incredible. You know, a lot of people do that and they focus on their breath. Like, the breath is that one thing to kind of ease them into it. Mm-hmm. And then the more that you practice with that is when you can get into open monitoring meditation, which is where you're not actually... You do have a focus, which is kind of why it's like the gateway, because obviously your focus is always on something, but you're really not focused. So an analogy would be like, think of you're sitting at a park bench and people are passing by you in every which direction and you're seeing them, but you're just watching them go by. You're not getting stuck on any one individual, no matter how much like you might want to like follow that, like, oh, I like their shoes, or like whatever it is that your mind wants to follow, you just don't. Like, you focus on not focusing on the things passing by you.
That's really difficult to understand. So what if you, like, my thought initially to that is, what if you can't really do that? Like, what if that's tougher for you?
Well,
and
yeah,
it's
that's
easier
like the
to
second
focus
phase.
Okay, so it's easier for most people to focus on one thing and just start focusing on their breath and then they start to bring the attention to their individual thoughts. Do certain people, do you think, have like more thoughts that are like, they have, like, when you talk about people passing by, are there more people passing by some people's brains than on other people's? Like, what if I only have 2 people that pass by? It's just 2 individual thoughts, and the rest of that time it's just...
Yeah, so we have what's called our default mode network, which is kind of like in the center of our brain, and it connects so many different parts of the brain that I'm not even going to go ahead and list because Can
you give us like a little bit?
It literally, there's honestly like 10
Is that the
different
neurons? Is that what makes that up?
Well,
neurons make up the default mode network?
Little microscopic
So what
things.
does the default node network do for us?
So to that level, like,
is
it's
it
really
node
not
or mode? Like N or M?
M, mode.
Mode, default mode network.
Yeah.
What does that do for us?
So you don't really need to understand the neuron like complexity for the sake of traders and meditation. Yeah. But the default mode network in relation to meditation, that's the part where you say, okay, as some people have like only 2 people passing by versus multiple people, that's all takes place in your default mode network. It's where we talk to ourselves. So if you have a lot of mind chatter, like when you're sitting there and you can just get lost in thought and there's so much going on, that means you have a super high active default mode network. And meditation has actually shown to reduce activity in that area of the brain, meaning that you can then focus more and practice that concentration, that meditation where you focus on only one thing. So you're suppressed.
Is that why I feel like I don't have as many, I feel like I don't have as many thoughts in my head as a lot of people think. I feel like I'm thinking more intently about one thing more often than a bunch of things. I'm just focused on one thing, seeing in different scenarios, weighing different outcomes, different. That's why I feel like, as we're talking about this, and I'm sure some other people can relate, they're like, I don't have all these thoughts going through my head. I am stuck just on these few couple. Where can meditation step in to provide clarity to maybe get you to the next step? How can you move? Because you said it's like the next step, right?
The next step would be like open monitoring meditation, like, and as you go deeper into
even if it's just a few thoughts, monitoring those few thoughts.
So, but it's where you're monitoring them non-reactively, like completely unbiased for what it is. And when you're doing that, it's ultimately just to see the underlying truth in whatever emotional or cognitive thought that your brain was thinking of.
That was my next question. What's the value in understanding and watching these thoughts go by and being able to do that? Where does that provide value in a real everyday life decision-making situation?
Well, for traders, for meditation, obviously you're in a super, depending on what time frame you're trading, but it's a super fast-paced, I feel like, thing
100%.
happening in your brain where
Short-term decisions.
Yeah, there's so many different parameters.
It's good
so
that
many
you said that too, because like
things.
short-term traders make shorter-term decisions. Swing traders don't have to do this. It's
Right.
different. Their chemistry internally it's totally different.
Yeah.
So it's fast decision making. So that's why are we as traders more likely to kick into that default mode network
Well,
because we're making decisions fast?
so more so in the sense of meditation, you would want to be able to lessen the activity in your default mode network to be able to focus.
Right. But do we
So-
naturally go into a more active where we're talking to ourselves more thoughts are happening? Because I feel like we do. Like as soon as you get, you know what I mean?
I mean, we could do research on it and find out.
Well,
I
like,
can't answer
no,
that
for
because
sure,
we
but
don't have the
you
research.
know the way that
but-
we trade. So like if
Yeah.
you come to the desk and you have all these questions to ask yourself, plus you have the group chat coming in, you have all these different inputs
Yeah.
coming in, you have so many different things going through your mind. And then what if you're somebody like me who's posting on Facebook and creating content about it too? Then you got to do that too. So you've got all these things going through your mind. So instantly, while you're trading and trying to make a trading decision, you're also kicked into that place basically where you're talking to yourself. And we know you want to not really be in that place to make the clearest decision because is there proof or is there any science to the idea that if you're out of the default mode network and you're really focused, so to speak, and not looking at a bunch of different thoughts, that you make better decisions? The meditation can translate then to not only showing you clearer details, but helping you make better decisions in the very moment that you're in. That's a hard thing to actually grasp, that the idea of this very moment, because it's constantly fleeting. It's constantly leaving you. So to really live in the moment is very hard,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Especially as you're trading because your heart rate's going, you're having to make all these decisions, you're getting more inputs than you were, especially if you're like me and you're just waking up. It's super hard.
Yeah, that's why it's like you need to be in that.
I think you have to meditate before you trade. If you're waking up and trading in the morning, I think you have to. I know for me, I don't lose trades when I do that. I don't take as many trades too, but it prevents me from losing. I'd lose more money than I'd make.
And for the people that think that they need to meditate for long periods
I do
of time,
10 minutes a morning. 10 minutes.
for a long duration in order to see effects, that's not true. Like
No.
there was another study that students were studying only for 4 days, 20 minutes a day. That's it. 20 minutes is a little extensive. I'll get into that in a little bit. But this study, it was 4 days, 20 minutes a day, and they showed improved focus.
Cognitive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's just so interesting, even just what practicing meditation into the time. You don't need to do it for 20 minutes a day, even practicing it 5 minutes a day. Like
Sure.
this is where understanding the brain, kind of going back to neurons, but not exactly. The brain is neuroplastic. So
Meaning it's constantly changing. It's moldable.
exactly.
Yeah.
So think of it literally like a muscle. When you
Right.
work out a muscle
100%.
over and over again, it
Right.
gets stronger. So when you meditate and you practice that over and over again,
becomes
it'll
natural.
get stronger. Even if it's 5 minutes a day, even if it's like 60 seconds a day, just the intention of doing it and making yourself show up. Hey, I'm going to practice meditation. Even if it's only 60 seconds, I'm going to do my best. You'll get better at it if
Right.
you stay consistent.
I like the thinking about things too, like setting an intention.
Yeah.
And then I'll take notes. Some people like your brother Ryan, he don't do that. He don't